Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Next Door NetAdmin. Today, rather than just showing you something on the computer, I thought I would talk a little bit about the kinds of things that might happen as you become more proficient in this kind of work. So, a lot of what we've been talking about recently has been based around imaging computers or booting them off the network in order to actually image them with something different, whether that's a clean version of Windows 11, an updated version of Windows 10, other operating systems, whatever you like. Although I have focused mostly on Windows because that's my job. A couple days ago, I joined a demo that my company was looking at. It's a software product that does pretty much the same thing. It allows you to download images to a computer. You build an image in a virtual machine, same as I've showed you guys, and you capture it, and then you use this software to push it out to machines where you need that, whether that is through booting off a USB stick or booting off of a Windows Deployment Services server. Basically, most of the stuff that I've showed you. And it uses answer files, just like the answer files we've created, although they've rebranded them with their own brand name. Fine, whatever you want to call it. It's using the same fundamental technology. And so we're going through this, and we're looking at the features that it has. Oh, yes, you can, install applications, okay? That's not really useful for us because we already have software that we're paying for that does that. Okay, that's fine. What else? Well, you can image machines out of the cloud. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that they support, storing your installation image in Dropbox and using that. Okay, well, we don't have anybody using Dropbox officially, and it's not that secure, honestly, if you ask me. Okay, that's fine. They also support Google Drive. Again, my company is a Microsoft partner. We don't really do a heck of a lot of Google Drive stuff, and most of our customers don't have that. That's not going to be terribly useful. Okay, do you support something in Microsoft Azure? No. We're working on it, they said. We're working on it. That's the next one up. We have OneDrive. Okay, well, OneDrive is kind of the personal solution. It isn't really what we'd be looking for. Okay, what else you got? What else you got? The killer feature that they have, if they have one, which that's a matter of interpretation, is that they also have driver packs. They have pre-built driver packs for every piece of hardware that they hope you're going to use. There's lots. They have an entire library of them. It looks very impressive. But with that, you can take the image that you built on a virtual machine and you can, just select the driver packs you want and it'll install those. Okay. This is it, huh? This is it. Okay. What's the cost? That's a big question. What's the cost and what are the limitations? Well, the cost is in US dollars. Okay, so we understand as a company, you don't really have need for, deploying applications or a whole bunch of the other system management stuff because you already have tools to do that. So here's a stripped down product that just focuses on the imaging. Okay, that sounds good. How much is it? Well, it's $12 per machine. Okay. What are the details on that? Well, this particular software package is every license is tied to a system motherboard. So that's how it keeps track of it. So every client system that it is used on, it registers that client's motherboard into its database and ties the license to that. You can move licenses between machines, but according to their terms of service, it has to have been not used for a full year before you can move it to another client. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to need one license for every single machine that I want to image in the next year, because then I have to let that license sit for a full year before I can reuse it on anything else. Well, that's not going to be something that's doable, and I'll explain why. In my company, we're looking after networks for many customers. And of course, the big push right now, the reason why we're looking into this software in the first place, is because Windows 10 exits mainstream support, actually exits almost all support next year, October next year. And incidentally, Microsoft is going to be offering extended security updates. Home users are only allowed to purchase that for a single year. So if you pay Microsoft extra, then you can keep Windows 10 updated against any new security issues until October 2026. Fine. Businesses can pay, and they have to pay more every year. The price keeps going up for up to another 3 years, which means theoretically, you might be able to keep running Windows 10 until October 2028. Cool. But the big push right now is to move everything we can to Windows 11, because, purchasing support for a fleet of computers that grows more expensive every year is not what anybody really wants to be doing. We should just move on and upgrade, especially now that we have a clean version of Windows 11 that doesn't include all of the other stuff. Cool. Fine. We have over 1,200 computers that need to be updated across all of our customers. And we are in Canada, which means that $12 US price is more like $16.75 at today's exchange rate. So we're talking over $20,000 just to do this. And that's just on the computers that need updating from Windows 10 to Windows 11. That doesn't include anything new that our customers might purchase because they're growing, they're hiring more people, they're replacing old hardware. This is just the stuff that needs to be moved from 10 to 11. So you could say that there's a pretty good chance it would go to 21,000, 22,000. We're talking many thousands of dollars here for this system. Or free with my system. But my system doesn't come without its own costs. That's the other thing that, as a business, people have to try and balance. On the one hand, free sounds great. I built it. It's something we have in-house. I have the knowledge to run it. And I know how all the bits and pieces fit together. Cool. But the cost of that is my time. I mean, it's not going to change how much they're paying me, but it is going to change what time I have available to spend on other things. So it requires that I have the time available. And if I don't have the time available, it means they need to find other people to do the things that I'm doing so that I can manage the system. Versus paying $20,000, I'm just using a round number, $20,000 per year to have software that does the same thing. Ish. Sort of. For all, we can deploy from the cloud. That doesn't work on a bare system. The detail there is you need to have Windows already installed and then install the client software on it before you can install Windows to it. So you need to have Windows installed in order to be able to install Windows. That's not That's not fabulous. Let's say that we got past that and you have a USB stick. Okay, you can deploy an image out of the cloud, but not the cloud that we're using. So you'd have to have another cloud provider with another cost for storage there. Or you could get, a small system and put it at the customer network to serve as an imaging, an imaging share, deployment share, however you want to call it. There's many names for it. You would need to have that set up, okay? And then there's the cost. You have the driver packs, which is great, cool, fine. But yeah, or you have a system that just works. But if you have the knowledge on how to do this, at least you have that choice. And that's the big thing. For some businesses, it will make sense to spend $20,000. If you need to image 1,200 machines in the next year, and you don't have the people who can do that, you don't have the people who understand the process, then that might be your only logical choice. But if you have the knowledge, if you understand how to do this, you open up the other option, which is, does it make more sense for a company, mine in this case, to allocate my time towards building the system, supporting the system, and then making sure that it continues to function through the year? That certainly won't be the only thing I'm working on. There's so many other things that I have on the go. That wouldn't be the only thing I work on, but there's a sizable chunk of time that would have to go to that. So the balance point is going to be different for every situation. It's going to be different for every customer. But that's the kind of thing that having the knowledge can enable. It can enable the choice to have another option. Because don't forget, that's also the stripped down price. Most of the time, that software would cost even more. So it's $20,000 for us for the stripped down software, more for the fully featured software. And, it can't boot off of PXE. I showed you that just a couple weeks ago. It can boot off of PXE, but only as part of Windows Deployment Services. It cannot do a self-booted PXE, okay? I will admit, I kind of, pulled a little bit of bravado in the demo and said, okay, well, I could probably hack your system to do that for ourselves. Because I know how to do it. I've just done it. I've showed you guys how to do it. So if you pull it apart and you look at all the constituent bits, you can go, okay, I know how to make this do this. The software manufacturer doesn't support it. They don't know how to do it, but I do. I'll just go and do that. Is that the best way to do it? I mean, I don't know. Clearly, if they don't know how to do it, they can't support you with it if something breaks. So you'd better be pretty darn confident in what you're doing if you choose to go that route. But yeah, if you have the knowledge, all the bits and pieces are there in an imaging system. We've looked at how to create a clean Windows 11 image. We've looked at capturing images. We've looked at deploying images. I know that DISM also has the capability to add drivers into an offline image. I haven't played with this yet, I will be the first to admit, but if I have all the drivers for a piece of hardware, why couldn't I just use DISM to inject that into an image so that it had all the right drivers? I am very much, when it comes to computers, caveat, when it comes to computers, I'm very much a conservative kind of guy. I will not look to update new things unless I have a need for it. Otherwise, the old methods are proven, they're working, let's stick with them. So I haven't really had an opportunity to play with this kind of driver injection too much. I've done it where I needed a network card driver and my Windows image didn't have it. I'm used to adding those drivers as necessary. But I haven't done it for an entire system because I can just create an image off that system with the needed drivers already there. It's part of the image, but that's not extensible. If we were going to do this, I need to be able to make a clean generic image. Then I need to gather the driver packages for 12 different types of systems, which is kind of what I'm told. We kind of deploy like 12 different types of systems within a year. That doesn't seem too bad. It's just something I haven't tested yet. But in theory, all the bits and pieces are there. I also know how to PXE boot these because, again, I've demonstrated this. So if I can create the image how I want it, I can capture the image. If I have driver packs, I have the ability to PXE boot or USB stick boot, whatever, into Windows PE, and I can apply the image, I can inject drivers, and I can do all the rest. That's the skeletal structure, at least, of a functioning system. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles. It's not going to look pretty. We're not going to have a centralized console where we can, click machines and say, re-image this machine with a new version of Windows. I think it's, infected with malware or whatever. Let's just push a new image to that. I'm not going to have these fancy bells and whistles where it's like, allow the user to postpone the re-imaging. It doesn't have USMT integrated, user state migration tool, where it essentially takes a copy of the profile and, saves it and then puts it back on the machine after you re-image it with Windows. In our environment, that doesn't make a lot of, it's not really necessary. Most of our customers are either using roaming profiles where it's saved on the network already, or it's being cloud synced because they're using Azure and they're Azure joined. Okay. And if we needed to actually save a profile, we have the tools to do that. Boot into Windows PE, copy the user directory off the machine before you wipe it out and put your new image on. Again, this is all stuff that can be done if you have the knowledge and if you have the time. I have most of the knowledge. I'd say I probably have about 90% of the knowledge. It's not fancy, but it might work. And it might save $20,000, give or take. The only cost is my time, which I don't know which way my company is going to go on it. I don't know if they're going to use my system. I don't know if they're going to say, you know what, $20,000 is kind of steep, but we kind of need your time on other things. That is their decision to make. And I'm sure we'll discuss this as a group, including me, because I have some of the relevant knowledge here, but also our service manager is going to be involved because this is going to affect, okay, who else can use this system? Is it something that only one person can use because that's all they know? That is a relevant question. It's going to involve resource scheduling. Okay, if we, use the in-house system, can we, devote that much time to developing these driver packs? How many hours is that going to take versus just paying the $20,000 and using the work that's already been done? These are all open questions that we have not covered yet, so I have no idea which way we'll go. And my company and any business could make a valid argument for going either way. It's not that one is better than the other, but at least the option is there. So when you learn this stuff, some of it might be useful immediately. Some of it may not be useful immediately. I started learning this imaging process over 10 years ago, and I've just added a little bit more to my knowledge with, every passing year, even if I didn't have an immediate use for it. This is, my long-winded way of saying keep gaining the knowledge, because you never know when it may be useful. And even if my company does go with the $20,000 a year system, at least I have the knowledge to be able to troubleshoot it. I might be able to hack it so that it boots off a network without Windows deployment services. Who knows? So that's the benefit. That's some of the benefits and some of the trade-offs once you have the knowledge that you can do this, or you might have other things to consider, shall we say. But I have talked for more than enough for now. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to let me know down in the comments section. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. I am your next door NetAdmin, and we'll see you next time.